Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. I tripped up on episode there. It is Monday. We're in the middle of November, and what has happened over the weekend? I think a lot happened. I don't know if we're talking about any of that stuff, but I know stuff has happened while we were away. Our headlines today on Before Coffee. Everything you need to know about the Dutch general election.
And a fire closes a freeway in Los Angeles.
Surgeon successfully performed the world's first transplant of a whole human eye.
And we look at the earthquakes in Iceland. And is a volcano next?
Las Vegas Sphere reveals a €92 million loss after opening in September. And why a Lord of the Rings exhibition matters to Italy's far-right PM, Giorgia Meloni.
Those fascinating stories and more. On today, which is World Kindness Day, November 13th, 2023, on Before Coffee. Pull my hair up.
Okay, first news story. While the US election is going to happen next year, the Dutch general election is happening this year on the 22nd of November. As voters in the Netherlands go to the polls on November 22nd, here's everything you need to know about the election. This is from Laura Lach from Euronews. The longest serving prime minister in the Netherlands is stepping down after 13 years in office, following elections this month. Reminder that this is a parliamentary democracy, so it's not like they voted for him. They vote for the party, and the party says, we want Rutte to be the leader. So he's finally like, I'm retiring. No one's allowed to say, hey, can you lead us? Bye guys, good luck. So Mark Rutte will leave office in The Hague and will be replaced. He made the announcement in July after his government collapsed, plunging the Netherlands into an unexpected election campaign. The country goes to the polls on the 22nd of November in a snap general election called 2 years early. Here's everything you need to know about Dutch politics, parties, personalities, and the issues at stake when the European country goes to the polls. How did we get here? Nicknamed Teflon Mark for his ability to keep the government crisis at bay, or Mr. Normal for his simple lifestyle, Rutte's resignation marks the end of an era for the country. After 3 terms in office, immigration was the turning point that brought down his fourth coalition government. For months, the Prime Minister had been working on a package of measures to reduce the flow of new immigrants to the Netherlands. But in fighting with the coalition government over limited family reunification and creating a 2-tier asylum system led to him to throw in the towel. 2 of the 4 parties in the ruling coalition, the Democrats 66 and the Christian Union, opposed the bill, while the other 2, I love how Christians opposed immigrants, I love that, while other 2, the VVD and the Christian Democratic Appeal, supported it. So 2 different Christians were like, no, yes, typical religion. The idea was to reduce the number of family members allowed to join the asylum seekers in the country and to make families wait 2 years before they could be reunited. A few days after the coalition collapsed, Rutte announced, I will not stand as leader of the party, the right-wing Liberals VVD, in the next election. Rutte's ability to build consensus, his managerial style, and his pragmatic ways of doing politics, notwithstanding his ability to survive political scandals and fend off the far right, are certainly among the main reasons explaining his longevity in office. Philippe Mongrain, a postdoctoral research at Media, Movement and Politics Research Group at the University of Antwerp, told Euronews. Rutte has been able to stay in power in one of the most fragmented party systems in Europe by showing a willingness to compromise and demonstrating ideological flexibility when needed. Perhaps his successors will follow a similar path, or perhaps not, he added. The bigger question is, who will shake up the Dutch politics after Rutte? Unlike other European countries, elections in the Netherlands are usually held on Wednesdays. This is done to increase voter participation. In the open list system used in the Netherlands, each party presents a list of candidates on the ballot paper, and citizens can choose which candidates to vote for. To win a seat in the Dutch House of Representatives, the only threshold a party has to meet is the number of valid votes cast by 150, the number of seats in the chamber. This absence of the threshold is rare in the EU. Dutch residents in the islands of Aruba, Curaçao, and Sint Maarten can only vote if they have lived in the Netherlands for at least 10 years or have worked in the Dutch civil service as on one of these islands, according to Dutch government voting page. Since the Second World War, the country has taken an average of 94 days to form a new coalition, but the last cabinet was the longest in post-war history. It took 299 days of negotiations to reach an agreement. Opinion polls suggest that at least 3 political parties will be needed to form a coalition government after the next election. And there's at least 20 parties in the Netherlands that get votes, right? That get votes. They don't get, some of them don't get a lot of seats, some of them get 1 or 2 seats, but they still get votes. The voter for the 150 seat in the lower house of the parliament will usher a new generation of leaders after the key members of Rutte's fourth ruling coalition also announced they were leaving politics. Among them was the country's deputy minister and leader of the left liberal D66 party, Sigrid Kaag. She took the decision because of the impact on her family of the repeated threats she received while in office. Of the 26 political parties contesting the elections, only 17 are currently represented in parliament. Dutch elections are among the most volatile in Western Europe, says Mongrain. So, according to postdoctoral researcher, in contrast to the 2021 elections, the ruling VVD now has 2 closing rivals, the new centre-right and anti-establishment Nieuwe Social Contract NCS, founded in August by former independent and longtime Christian Democrat appeal MP Peter Omtzigt, and the joint list of Labour Party and Green Left, formed in July, led by Frans Timmermans, former Vice President of the European Commission. I think the Green Party will win because they get all of the young people votes, and that's what I'm hoping for. Like when I was going to Dutch University, right? When I was going to Dutch University, every single person I talked to was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just voting green. Yeah, we all just vote green." Everyone knows in the Netherlands, students vote green. That's all they do. They're the easiest voting pool to guess at, to estimate. It's like, oh, how much do you think green's gonna get? How large is the student population? There you go. The former prime minister's party, the VVD, is not in particularly good position, but the premiership is certainly not out of reach, especially as Omtzigt seems to have ruled out taking the premiership of his party if his party is successful, said Mongrain. Omtzigt's new party is attracting voters from several parties, including VVD, CDA, and D66, which could at least partly explain the somewhat disappointing performance of these parties in the voting intention polls. Those polls by IO Research show that 3 parties are vying for power: Peter Omtzigt's NCS with 27%, the former Prime Minister's party with 26%, and the Green and Left Labour Party with 25%. The Farmers' Citizen Movement, or the Boer-Burger-Beweging, or BBB, is another party that made a strong showing in recent regional elections. Yeah, they took almost every single regional election. All the farmers were farmers! Rutte's government's anti-climate change policy affected the country's farmers, and they turned out and forced to protest. Peter Omtzigt is one of the most popular conservative politicians in the Netherlands, and although he's only founded in his political party NSC 2 months ago, many are betting on him to win the elections. The technocrat wants to bring a radical change to the country. We want to really realize our ideals, not seek power for power's sake, the 49-year-old politician told reporters. His popularity lies in his charisma and his fight against political establishment. Ah yeah, great combo. The former Christian Democratic appeal MP, now an independent, became a martyr by leaving his party after writing a critical report on it. Omtzigt played a huge key role in uncovering the child benefit scandal that led to the collapse of Rutte's government in 2021. The Dutch tax authorities had used an algorithm to create risk profiles to detect tax fraud. Based on these indicators, the authorities penalized families simply on suspicion of fraud. Tens of thousands of families from the most disadvantaged backgrounds were left with debts they could not pay. His track record of exposing what happened and investigating political scandals has positioned him as a rising star, but will he be able to seize the moment? So what's on the voters' minds? When asked what keeps the Dutch voter awake at night, these are the 3 clear winners. Purchasing power. migration, and the Dutch healthcare system, according to recent research by AD News. As Mongrain points out, monthly food inflation was approaching 20% at the beginning of the year and is currently around 10%, according to Statistic Nederlands, a significant burden for Dutch consumers. In order to maintain consumer purchasing power and fund the healthcare system, many voters seek cutbacks on migration as a viable solution to free up public funds, he adds. Over 40% of voters surveyed by AD believe that too much money is spent on the system of resettling asylum seekers in the country, as well as other financial costs associated with migration. Housing shortages, energy transition, and climate change are also on voters' minds ahead of the election later this month. I know in my experience, a lot of Dutch people are also very angry about the housing crisis, as they have been for decades now. And of course, the easy scapegoat is immigrants. Immigrants get free houses when they come here. All those immigrants coming here instantly get houses. Why I have to wait 5 years on the wait list to get a house? Not sure if that's true. I still think that's not true, but I wouldn't know because I already had a house when I came here because I live with Dutch people. So I don't think that's true. Probably for my asylum seekers, that is true because I need somewhere to live. But there you go. There's your info on the Dutch elections and how everyone has politics and they're all convoluted and crazy. Your story.
Yeah, democracy is messy. In fire news, I guess, Los Angeles motorists urged to take public transport after massive fire closes interstate. This is from Associated Press. Los Angeles motorists should expect traffic snarls during the Monday commute as crews assess how much damage was caused by a raging fire over the weekend that closed down a major elevated interstate near downtown, officials said. Hazardous material teams were clearing burned material from underneath Interstate 10 to make way for engineers who will ensure the columns and deck for the highway can support the 300,000 vehicles that typically travel that route daily, Governor Gavin Newsom said in a news conference Sunday. Remember, this is an investigation as to the cause of how it occurred, as well as a hazmat and structural engineering question, Newsom said. Can you open a few lanes? Can you retrofit the columns? Is the bridge deck intact to allow for a few lanes to remain open again? Newsom said answering those questions would be a 24/7 operation, but officials yet couldn't offer a timeline when the highway might open. Commuters were urged to work from home or take public transportation into downtown Los Angeles. The mile-long I-10 closure between Alameda Street and Santa Fe Avenue will have ripple effects on the surface streets and other key freeways, including the State Route 60 and Interstate 5, the California Highway Patrols said. The cause of the fire was under investigation Sunday. Flames reported around 12:20 a.m. Saturday ripped through two storage lots in the industrial area beneath the highway, burning parked cars, stacks of wooden pallets, and support poles for high-tension wires. Fire Chief Kristen Crowley said no injuries were reported. More than 160 firefighters from more than 24 companies responded to the blaze, which spread across 8 acres, the equivalent of about 6 football fields, and burned for 3 hours. The highway's columns are charred and chipped. The guardrails along the deck are twisted and blackened. But it sounds like a good start to a song. Newsom declared a state of emergency Saturday afternoon and declared a State Department of Transportation request assistance from the federal government. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass said she had also talked with U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg about any additional resources that may be needed. The governor said Sunday that the state has been in litigation with the owner of the business leasing the storage property where the fire started. The lease is expired, Newsom said, and the business had been in arrears when subleasing the space. This is a site we're aware of. This is a leasee we are aware of, he said. California State Secretary of Transportation talks. I'm a shaking, baby. Said storage yards. Said storage yards on our highways are common statewide across the country, and said the practice would be reevaluated following a fire. At least 16 homeless people living underneath the highway were evacuated and brought to shelters, Bass said. Officials said there was no immediate indication that the blaze began at the encampment. The mayor said the fires Long-term impact could be reminiscent of damage from the Northridge earthquake that flattened freeways in 1994. Unfortunately, there's no reason to think that this is going to be over in a couple of days, he said. So, freeway fire in Los Angeles.
For a couple of days? Wow.
Yeah, on I-10. If you got to commute on I-10 Los Angeles in that Alameda area, take the bus or stay home.
Okay. Good luck to everyone in LA.
It's closed.
Yeah, that sucks. Okay.
Over that side.
In our next kind of positive news going on, the first ever eye transplant has happened. This is from Your Nose and AP. Aaron James destroyed much of his face in an accident with high voltage power lines, but is now recovering well from a face and eye transplant. U.S. surgeons have successfully performed the world's first eye transplant of an entire human eye, although the doctors caution that it remains unknown if the patient, Aaron James, will ever be able to see with his new left eye. So it's in there, but it is not doing anything. Almost all of Jim's face, including the left eye, was destroyed in an accident involving a high voltage power line in June 2021. The 46-year-old from Hot Springs, Arkansas, subsequently underwent a dual face and eye transplant in May, from which his doctors say he's recovering well, noting that his new eye looks remarkably healthy. It feels good. I still don't know how many movement. I don't have any movement in it yet. My eyelid, I can't blink yet, but I'm getting sensation now, James said as doctors examined his progress recently. The surgeons at NYU Langone Health had hoped that replacing James' missing eye would yield better cosmetic results from a partial face transplant by supporting new eye socket and lid. Transplants of the cornea and the clear tissue in front of the eye are commonly performed to treat certain types of vision loss, but transplanting the whole eye, the eyeball, its blood supply, and the critical optic nerve that connects to the brain is much more experimental procedure. We're not claiming that we're going to restore sight, Dr. Eduardo Rodriguez, the plastic surgery chief who led the transplant, said. But there's no doubt in my mind we are on one step closer, he added. Ahead of the surgery, specialists feared that post-transplant the eye would shrivel like a raisin, but the results had been more satisfactory. When Rodriguez propped open James' left eyelid last month, the donated hazel-colored eye was as plump and full of fluid as his own blue eye. Doctors had observed good blood flow and no sign of rejection so far. Furthermore, researchers have begun analyzing scans of James' brain that detected some puzzling signals from the sight-giving but injured optic nerve. One scientist who has long studied how to make eye transplants a reality called the surgery exciting. Dr. Jeffrey Goldberg, chair of the ophthalmology at Stanford University, called it an amazing validation of animal experiments that have kept transplanted eyes alive. The hurdle is how to regrow the optic nerve. Although animal studies are making strides, Goldberg added. He praised the NYU's team's audacity in even aiming for optic nerve repair and hopes the transplant will spur more research. James, a military veteran who was working at a power line company when he was shocked by the live wire, ultimately losing his left arm in addition to his facial injuries. His damaged left eye was so painful it had to be removed. Multiple reconstructive surgeries couldn't repair extensive facial injuries, including his missing nose and lips. Face transplants remain rare and risky. James is only the 9th thing to have been carried out in the US, and the 5th Rodriguez has performed. The eye experiment added even more complexity, but James figured he'd be no worse off in donating if the donated eye failed. You've got to start somewhere. There's got to be a first person somewhere, James said. Maybe you'll learn something from it that will help the next person, he added. 3 months after James was placed on national transplant waiting list, a matchmaking donor was found. During the 21-hour operation, surgeons added an experiment twist. When they sliced together the donated optic nerve that remained in James' original, they injected special stem cells from the donor in hope of spurring its repair. Last month, the tingles heralded healing facial nerves. Rodriguez gently pushed the eye closed and James felt the sensation, although in his nose rather than his eyelid. Oh, that must be weird. You feel your eye closing, but in your nose. Wow. His face is all wired up. The surgeon also detected subtle movements in muscles around the eye. How well the eye functions remains to be seen. NYU's Lagone's ophthalmologist, Dr. Vaidehi Dedania, ran a number of tests. She found expected damage in a light-sensing retina in the back of the eye. But she said it appears to have enough special cells called photoreceptors to do the job of converting light to electric signals, one step in the creation of vision. Normally, the optic nerve that would send those signals to the brain to be interpreted. James' spliced together optic nerve clearly isn't healthy, yet when light was flashed into the donating eye during an MRI, the scan recorded some brain activity, but in the wrong area. That both excited and baffled researchers, though it may simply be a fluke, cautioned Dr. Stephen Galetta, an eye and brain expert at NYU's Lagone's neurology chair. Only time and more study will tell. Still, the surgery marks a tremendous step forward, according to Dr. David Claassen, Chief Medical Officer at the United Network of Organ Sharing, which runs the nation's transplant system. I'm sorry that somebody in chat just said maybe if I get a face transplant, somebody would be my friend. I'm sure you don't need a face transplant to solve that problem. It's all about the personality. So while James doesn't look like, I guess the reason he got this cosmetic surgery is probably looked very scary. And he was scaring children or something. And he was like, oh, I feel so bad for scaring kids. Give me a face transplant and a fake eye. I guess a real eye. That doesn't work. Yeah. That's my story. On to yours.
Okay. We were talking about somebody literally trying to save face. We'll get on the proper usage of the word literally. Anyway, here's a story about the ongoing earthquakes in Iceland, which is a Forbes magazine byline Antonio Prequeno, the fourth. There's been four of those guys. This is going to be fraught with Icelandic words, so warning in advance. This is Iceland, home to hundreds of volcanoes, has been hit with more than 2,000 earthquakes in the last few days, prompting the country to declare a state of emergency, evacuations over potential volcanic eruptions, putting the safety of thousands at risk. Yes, Iceland is basically just one giant volcano. More than 800 earthquakes have been recorded in the country since Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, with Iceland's meteorological office saying in a statement that the likelihood of volcanic eruption occurring in the near future is deemed considerable. Many of the quakes, some of which have exceeded a magnitude of 5.0, have occurred in the Reykjanes Peninsula, if the J is silent, the home of the fishing town of Grindavik, which has a population of 3,400 people and has been evacuated. Officials said it isn't possible to determine when and where the magma might reach the surface, though there are indications that a considerable amount of magma is moving towards Grindavik. That one's actually easy. The amount of magma being closely watched by officials is significantly more than the largest magma intrusions associated with eruptions at Fatherdaughter, a volcano that erupted for more than 6 months starting in March 21. Volcanic hazards may include lava, toxic gas, and heavy smoke, according to the volcano alert from the U.S. Embassy in Iceland. The aviation color code was elevated to orange on Friday, indicating the increased likelihood of eruption that could result in engine loss, navigation failure for the aircraft. 9.3 miles, that's the shallowest depth at the top of the magma intrusion being recorded by meteorologists north of Grindavik, according to a statement. Iceland's Blue Lagoon, a world-renowned geothermal pool, known for its warm and calming waters, was closed for a week as a result of the tremors and volcanic threat, according to the CNN. The lagoon will remain closed through Thursday, at least Thursday. Keflavik International, Iceland's main airport, is just 18 miles northwest of Grindavik, but has not had its operations affect as of Saturday, according to RUV. Iceland's national public service broadcaster, the State Department, I'm sorry, the State Department, there's a period there. The State Department has not issued any travel advisories for Americans, stating American tourists can exercise normal precautions with visiting for the time being. Half of the magma tunnel now extending underneath Grandavik follows a 2,000-year-old series of craters, according to the RUV, which cited Paul Eilnerson, a professor of geology. Eilnerson told RUV the biggest earthquakes originated under the crater series, that the magma tunnel has been getting longer, though the professor says it's impossible to say where the eruption would occur and how long the crack formed by how it would be. I guess that made sense. Iceland now has more than 100 volcanoes on its island, 32 of which are active. The country's most infamous volcanic eruption involved, here's another fun word, Eyjafjallajökull. The volcano's eruption stranded millions of tourists worldwide and grounded more than 100,000 flights over the course of a week, according to the island's tourism website. So there you go. We're just waiting on that volcano to blow, and we're going to have to play the Jimmy Buffett song, which you don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go when the volcano blows.
Well, I guess they'll go somewhere safe.
Well, that's where they are. They can get on a boat.
Nah, I think they'll be fine, because that just means more land for Iceland. In our next story, we're going to talk about a really quick story here about the Las Vegas Sphere, which has revealed that it lost millions. This is from David Moraquand on Euronews Culture. The state-of-the-art $2.3 billion massive spherical venue, which was opened on the 29th of September, has already made a huge loss, and lost its CFO. The MSG Sphere reported losing $98.4 million for the financial quarter ending on 30th September, a day after the venue first opened in Las Vegas Strip. What started as a simple sketch became a reality 7 years later, a $2.3 billion massive spherical venue standing 111 meters high and lighting up Las Vegas skyline. On the 29th of September, the much-anticipated moment arrived as the Sphere unveiled its grandeur to the world for the first time, and setting stage for U2's 25-show residency, with the band's use of a Sphere's groundbreaking LED and audio system. It has since hosted events and screenings, including new Darren Aronofsky's film Postcard from Earth. The loss was announced around a week after Gautam Ranj resigned as the Sphere's entertainment chief financial officer, according to a Securities and Exchange Commission filing. Ranj, who had been on the job for 11 months, will be replaced on an interim basis by Greg Brunner, the company's senior vice president, according to the filing. Sphere Entertainment said Ranj's departure was not a result of any disagreement with the company's independent auditors or any member of the management on a matter of accounting principles or practices, financial statement disclosure, or internal controls. However, the New York Post reported that Ranj suddenly quit after a bout of yelling and screaming from CEO James Dolan. During the latest quarter, the company earned $4.1 million in event revenue and $2.6 million from advertising and suite licensing from the Sphere's massive exterior screen. Following the news of the operating loss, Dolan told shareholders that the company is building a positive momentum and is positioned to drive long-term value. To be honest, that makes sense. They just built the thing and then they expect a return instantly. It's not a film, right? Only films make a return instantly. Everything else is like you're going to be at losses for 2 years until you actually make a profit. That's how most businesses run. You're not making profit until like 2 or 3, depending on the industry, right? 2 or 3 years in.
Oh, yeah. But it's real estate speculation in the long run is always.
Exactly.
It is. You don't know what real estate is worth until you fucking build something there and you go, wow, nobody's coming here.
Nobody likes to live here. I wonder why. Yeah. In additional culture news, Lord of the Rings got Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, angry because of why. Well, I don't know. Let's find out. This is from Johnny Walfist on Euronews Cultures as well. Since Giorgia Meloni was elected as Italy's first female prime minister, the politics page of news outlets have focused on her globally divisive far-right politics. Over in the culture sections, though, there's been another focus. Meloni seemingly loves two things: populism and the Lord of the Rings series. Her avowed fanship of J.R.R. Tolkien's fantasy epic will reach a new apex next week when the Prime Minister opens an exhibition in Rome celebrating the British author. Tolkien, man, professor, and author will open Rome's National Gallery on Modern Art on the 16th of November in an inauguration ceremony led by Maloney. Not only is Maloney playing the role as ribbon cutter, the entire exhibition is somewhat a result of her personal interest in the author. Italy's cultural ministry reported spent 250,000 euros to set up the exhibition. Since Maloney's election, she played a heavy-handed role in guiding cultural institutions towards positions politically favorable to her. As pointed out in one of her previous articles, she had appointed Vladimir Putin's apologist Giampaolo Rossi as Director General of the public service broadcaster RAI, Eurosceptic journalist Alessandro Giuli as a president of Maxi, a national contemporary art museum in Rome, and former member of post-fascist youth organization Fronte della Gioventù Pietrangelo Buttafuoco as the president of the next Venice Biennale, and had the government itself take control of Rome's experimental cinematography center. Cultural narrative controlling moves are in keeping with the playbook historically used by fascist political parties. Aged 15, Maloney joined the youth front of Movimento Sociale Italiano, MSI, and a neo-fascist political party. MSI was transformed in 1995 into Alleanza Nazionale, AN, and distanced itself from the early rhetoric via designating itself post-fascist. Much of the AN party now form Maloney's current party, Fratelli d'Italia, FDI, Brothers of Italy. How does The Lord of the Rings fit in this wider scope of Maloney's political career? The 46-year-old politician first read the books age 11, in her days as a young member of MSI. She attended a party's Camp Hobbit Festival in 1993 and sang along with far-right folk band Compagnia dell'Anello, Fellowship of the Ring. Throughout her political life, she stuck close to the symbols of the series, including a photo shoot with Gandalf's statue after she was first elected as MP in 2008. In terms of her actual political opinions, her anti-globalist agenda has been clearly signaled by referring to Italy as Numenor. Sorry. You know what happened to the Numenorians? They became so fascist and corrupt that the god of the Lord of the Rings series sank them into the ocean. Numenor should not be your guiding light as to what you should run your politics as. Okay. As a once great human civilization that falls due to human immorality, it's Sodom and Gomorrah for fantasy nerds. Not long ago, after Maloney's election last year, Euronews Culture interviewed Silvia Benetti, a PhD researcher at Britain's University College of London, on what her love of the epic series says about her views. The Lord of the Rings, unveiling strongly evocative political metaphors and powerful imaginaries of moral battles between right and wrong, is currently gaining a new wave of attention thanks to one of its prominent fans, Italy's premier-to-be, Giorgia Meloni, Benetti said. Tolkien's work often offers plenty of material for speculation on its possible appeal to the far right and its leaders, keen to protect the integrity and values of an enchanted motherland from monstrous enemies, she added. It's a relatively common occurrence for far-right figures to adopt the iconography of fantasy series like Lord of the Rings. Many of them hark back to an era of simple black and white morality with ideas of chivalry and family values prioritized over modernity. For all its qualities, these have been fair criticisms of Tolkien's series. While his world building is fascinating, particularly the attention paid to languages, Tolkien's sensibilities towards morality are largely straightforward. An evil Sauron and his army of orcs are intent on destroying everything beautiful and pure in the world of men and elves and dwarfs. It's a worldview that fits a simple fantasy tale, but fails short of depicting the complexities of global politics. It also doesn't help Tolkien's case that he literally depicts evil as black and good as white. Cultural Minister Gennaro Sangiuliano is in his notes on the exhibition notes how Tolkien's work prioritizes the sense of community and nature, tradition, opposition to the most controversial and dehumanizing aspects of modernity, and self-sacrifice, the bond of friendship, courage, dedication, and the sense of honor. Tolkien's Middle-earth is nonetheless a staggeringly impressive achievement in fantasy and laid the groundwork for so much of modern culture. An exhibition celebrating his works and influence is therefore not unwarranted. However, pure under the current, and it may seem that Maloney's fascination is far from pure. Yeah, I would also like to point out that there are a lot of Nazis who love Lord of the Rings, and there are many letters from Tolkien where he says he hates Nazis. Like, he thinks they're abhorrent creatures, he does not like them, and he does not want them to like his book. So that's where he stood when it came to Nazis, okay? As somebody who I think fought in World War I, he did not like Nazis, okay?
I'm not a big fan of making these world leaders. Well, they're so endearing because they like this work of fiction.
Well, this was a warning. This was a warning saying, don't be fooled.
Reality has a place in, politics, instead of going, well, I gotta be just like this character in fiction. No, fucking, there's shit going on. Make decisions, budgets, that kind of shit.
To be fair, that article was warning people to not be enamored by politicians who like Lord of the Rings, so...
Exactly. Who gives a crap? I mean, seriously, they're not 9. Are we treating them like, oh, they're so cute and cuddly? No, they're vicious killers, potentially. Believe it. Okay.
You can order your whole family to be murdered and then put it under the rug and the conspiracy.
Let's go ahead and call Gollum. All right?
Yeah.
Gollum. She's Gollum.
She's Gollum. Power. The picture they put does look a lot like Gollum.
Smeagol. She's Smeagol. All right? This day in history, in the year 1002, or back there when they called it 2, English King Ethelred II launched an attack against Danish settlers in St. Brice's Day Massacre. In 1770, George Grenville, the English politician whose policy of taxing the American colonies started the train of events leading to the American Revolution, died in London on this day in 1770. Man, I got to this again. Drink water, man. 1850, on this day, Robert Louis Stevenson was born. He was the author of Treasure Island, Kidnapped, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and The Master of Ballantrae. And 1916, during World War I, a costly 4-month Allied offensive against German positions along the Somme River ended. In 1918, Egyptian patriot Saad Zaghloul formed Al-Wad al-Masri, which is Arabic for Egyptian delegation, the nationalist party that was instrumental in gaining Egyptian independence from Britain. In 1940, the animated film Fantasia had its first public screening and became one of Disney's most controversial works, derided for its portentousness and praised for its stunning visual virtuosity. In 1980, Martin Scorsese's film The Raging Bull, a biopic about boxer Jake LaMotta, had its world premiere. It became an American classic, especially known for the Oscar-winning performance by Robert De Niro. In 1995, Mount Ruiz in the Cordillera Central of the Andes in West Central Colombia erupted twice, burying the town of Armero in the Lagunilla River and killing an estimated 25,000 people. One volcano. Earth don't care about your feelings, man. It just doesn't. In 2001, on the heels of U.S.-led invasion of Afghanistan prompted by the deadly terrorist attack of September 11th, the army of anti-Taliban Northern Alliance captured the capital city of Kabul. Our featured event is on November 13th, 2015, the terrorist attack in Paris. On this day in 2015, terrorists staged coordinated attacks in Paris and the environs of deadliest occurring in the Bataclan Theater and Concert Hall. In all, at least 130 people were killed and more than 350 wounded. Our feature biography is St. Augustine. Yes, St. Augustine was born on November 13th, 354, if you want to get him a card. And he died on August 28th, 430. St. Augustine. Don't know nothing about him except Bob Dylan wrote a song about him. He dreamed he saw St. Augustine. I'm going to go listen to some Bob Dylan. It'll be my tribute. Edward III was born on this day in 1312. We already covered Robert Louis Stevenson. Is Whoopi Goldberg's birthday. Whoopi was born in 1955. 1969, Gerard Butler, the Scottish actor, was born, and in 1969, Jan R.C. Ally, the Dutch politician. You know him? He was born in 1969. Might be your neighbor, for all you know. Anyway, born in 69, he ain't that old. Okay. Only 2 days today. It is National Indian Pudding Day. I don't know what that is, but I'll look it up. And it's World Kindness Day. I do know what kindness is. I practice it occasionally. Let's see. Hasty pudding. I guess that's it. Indian pudding. Recognizes the Cold Weather Classic. On November 13th each year, they serve up a traditional New England dessert that's, okay, it's just corn. That's some pudding. Somebody thinks it's great. I'm not going to have any. But I will be kind. I'll avoid people.
Yeah, kindness is definitely something we need these days, as everyone is slowly wanting to murder each other.
That's right. That's it. That's all I got, man.
All right. Then, this has been Allison here from the Netherlands. I guess I'll go make some pudding and be kind, give someone a hug, stop genociding people, and we'll see you tomorrow for some good news.
This is Roger from the United States, and I'm going to be kind to people by avoiding them completely. And today, it's Monday, November 13th, 2023 on Before Coffee.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.